right? Like fear is definitely one thing, right? And there, you can use it in a good way, but when everybody is scared to talk to that person, there might
Yeah.
be a reason. There might be a reason.
Yeah. And here's the thing, guys, when people are scared, you've been in some of those situations, right? They're looking for an out.
Yeah.
And we've talked about it. We've hit this before. Losing tenured people from organizations is horrible. And so going back to doing research, right? I also, as I was going through this, I read another research paper that was talking about how employees would be willing to come back to an organization if there was a change in their leadership. Literally, they would be willing to go back to that same location if it was a completely different leader. Imagine that. And organizations, surprisingly, organizations try to retain their leaders. And sometimes it's good. Oftentimes it can be a bad thing because they're retaining the wrong people.
Yeah.
Right? If you have a leader that shouldn't be a leader and the company is trying to keep them, yeah, that's definitely not a company I want to be a part of. Because at that point, they're willing to sacrifice all these potentially hundreds of different people coming through the door because it's one individual who, it could be a family-owned business, right?
Yeah.
It could be they know somebody high up that is continuously looking out for them, and it's like, well, no, 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 and it's like, all right, you got to look at it from that perspective, from not just a leadership perspective, but also from an employee perspective, right? But just
Yeah.
that one change in leadership, you would be willing to have people come back. And I know this personally because I've had that before, where I've had people leave and I'm reaching out to them again, or they reached out to me because so and so is not working at that location anymore, or they're not part of the company anymore. Like, no, I'm willing to come back if you guys have open positions.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, boomerang, that's what's known as a boomerang employee, right? Y'all know what a boomerang is, right? You throw it and that thing comes back.
Maybe.
Boomerang employees are amazing for organizations because they already are familiar with the organization. They're familiar with the product and service lineup. They're familiar with the majority of procedures and products already. And obviously things that may have changed, but they have an understanding of the company culture and the processes. So it's a shorter time period for them to get up and running again, right? And that's the beautiful thing. And typically when you have a boomerang employee, once they come back, they're willing to stay longer because they've left and have come back, right? And that's
Yeah.
a huge, huge thing to understand.